Good morning. This is the good news from the Greenway in Belfast. There once was a blind beggar. He'd been blind from birth, and on an average day he went out begging, didn't know it was going to be a different day than any other day, and he heard the noises all around him, the noises of animals, noises of people walking by, and then he heard a conversation happening nearby. A couple of men were talking to each other. Who sinned, Rabbi? Was it this man, or was it his parents that he ended up blind? Whose fault is it? And he heard the rabbi say, it wasn't anyone's fault. It was so that the works of God could be shown in him. And he heard footsteps approaching. He heard someone spit. He heard some shuffling, and then he felt mud on his eyes, on his blind eyes. He heard a voice say, "Go and wash in the pool of Siloam, and then you'll be able to see again." And so the blind beggar went to the pool of Siloam with his friends. He washed, and he could see again. Well, as you can imagine, this caused quite a stir. He returned back to his friends and his neighbors, and his friends and his neighbors couldn't believe it. They said, "Is this the same guy that has been blind his whole life and begging? This can't be the same guy. This has got to be someone different." They argued about him. They couldn't believe that there had been a change. Well, the man said, "Yep, it's me. It's the blind man. I've been here my whole life." They didn't believe him, so they dragged him to the Pharisees, the ones in charge, and they said, "Can you help us sort this out? We don't know what's going on here." So the Pharisees questioned him, and he said, "It was Jesus. This man named Jesus came and put mud on my eyes, and then I could see again. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what happened." The Pharisees said, "No, it couldn't have been. That man is a sinner, and you are a sinner. It couldn't have been that way." The blind man said, "I don't know how it happened, but here I am. My eyes are open." The Pharisees said, "Well, let's call in your mom and your dad." So they called in mom and dad. Mom and dad came in, and they said, "Are you sure this is your son?" "Yes." "Are you sure he was blind from birth?" "Yes." "Well, how did this happen?" "Well, we don't know. We don't know how it happened. Why don't you ask him? He's old enough to talk for himself." So they went back to the blind man again and said, "We know that you're a sinner. We know that this Jesus is a sinner. Tell us how this happened." And the blind man said, "All I know is that I was blind, and now I can see. I find it incredible that you can't understand. You don't know where this man came from. You say he's a sinner, and yet God listened to him when he opened my eyes. I don't know why, I don't know how, but that's the way it is." Well, the Pharisees didn't like that. They chucked him out back onto the streets. And that's where Jesus found him again. Jesus came up to the man who could now see and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The formerly blind man said, "Tell me who it is so that I can believe." And Jesus said, "The one you're looking at, the one that you can see, the one who's talking to you, I am he." And the blind man fell down and worshipped Jesus. It's a story of blindness and of sight. And we very often find ourselves in the place of the Pharisees who think that they can see so well, and yet who are blind to the work of God happening right under their noses. When I come out here to the Greenway, I am reminded of the same thing, of the life that's happening under my nose that I never see because I never look. And the same is true for the work of God happening around me, in the life of my kids, in the world around me, and the people I interact with day after day. I'm blind to it, but God is at work. But, church, here is the good news. The good news is that Jesus is opening eyes.